Howdy, folks. I'm realizing I'm going to go. Howdy, Sankarshan and Art. And the
This is a morning in my day. So it's very
I know. It's fantastic. And John's been firing out emails all morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, I've been on all channels. Sort of.
Which is fantastic. That's fantastic. I'm gonna, as we let the room fill up, just refill my coffee cup here.
Good morning, Sankarshan. How you doing, mate?
excellent, John. This is a nice Gemini-driven document that you have surfaced.
Yeah, I'm increasingly perplexed by Gemini. Am I infecting the version of Gemini I'm using by my own thinking, and it's becoming more and more like me? Or is
Yes.
it, yeah, because I find it's very enthusiastic. It always goes like, "Hey, John, what a great idea! What a great question! Fantastic! Here we go."
There's a whole bunch of positive affirmations from Gemini. Claude, on the other hand, just couldn't care. It's like you give it data, it's good.
And Grok's just damn rude, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Grok, I think, is when you want to be a troll on some social service. But Gemini, I think in the past 3 months they've made some changes or updates, and it has become increasingly, I would say, horrifyingly like an echo chamber of what I would be thinking, but thinking it a bit more faster and probably connecting a few more things.
Yep. Yeah, there is the risk of the internet bubble. I mean, I'm hopeful that the way I'm using these deep research tools is exploratory, obviously, and it's the start of thinking, not the end of thinking, I think is one way of introducing it. But they do a very deep research across a number of things. One of the I did some scientific research, which is why the table of contents was wrong in this document to start with today. Research on so Australia is leading the world in delaying the access to social media for under 16s. We were discussed at the UN meeting. We believe we're all over the world right now. But I wanted to find the scientific research that supports the idea of causation, not correlation, between the use of social media and harms. And what you realize is the scientists' material is often behind a paywall that the deep research AI agents don't have access to. And it reminded me of that move years ago now by science to try and make their contents more accessible to all, not just scientists who've signed up to whatever and have access through an educational institution. Because right now, science is on the back foot in many parts of the world, and I don't think they help themselves by locking themselves away.
Yes.
Anyway, enough of the distraction.
That's a great point. That is a very good point. Perfect. Well, we're at 4 minutes behind the hour here, or after, however you want to put it. The various hours. It's obviously 6 in the evening for me here in Seattle, but we have a very healthy contingent for the APAC. And so let me share my screen. And let's see, go the right. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Got to switch here. There we go. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And if I go to slideshow mode, is it visible? Is everyone seeing this? Great, fantastic. Welcome everybody to the Kickoff APAC meeting of the new Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group. Super excited to be here with everyone. In the Americas and EU group, we had 32 people join this morning. Just fantastic set of folks. We did make it all the way through the agenda, just barely, because there's a lot to cover. This is going to be a smaller group and ideally more time for discussion and get to know everybody. As always, we are at the Linux Foundation. I want to clarify right up front, this is a joint participation working group of both Trust over IP and DIF. You'll see we're using TrustRP was the originator of this group, so you'll see our logo and the hosting of the Zoom and the wiki pages on Confluence and in Discord are TrustRP based, but all diff members are qualified to participate if they're in good standing with diff. So we welcome anyone that's coming from diff as well. We are a joint participation working group, and we're all in the Linux Foundation, so we're all under these competition and antitrust and competition laws, and that's enough there. All right, so this is what's on the agenda to cover here today in a kickoff meeting. This is pretty standard stuff that we need to go through when we kick off a new working group. And again, hopefully we get through it fairly quickly, so we have maximum time for discussing hot topics like John just brought up on the first person mailing list, and it really extends the discussion that came up this morning. So we'll get to that as quickly as we can. Let's start out, however, with we have a small enough group. We did get around. It took us about 10, 12 minutes this morning, everyone introducing themselves just shortly. We have a little bit more room here. But we also have a tool here, which about at least half the folks took advantage of this morning that I've used before, the bio page. And I will get the chat open here. I'm on full screen, so I gotta bring this up. So if you didn't see that before, I'm going to put a link in here, bio page. This is should be it's on the TrustRP Google Drive, but it is the one that we can actually share with everyone. So everyone has editing rights to that, and you'll see if you want to at any point during this call, just put in a heading 1 for your name and any bio information you want to share. As I said, I think about 15, 20 folks did that this morning. It's just a resource. We'll link to the notes so that you can sort of see more information about other folks that are involved. So feel free to do that. In the meantime, right now, we'll just quickly go around and do introductions. And to make this easy, I will simply call folks out from the participant list. I think everyone on the list, you know me well, so I'll go straight to Adam Lartner from Affinity. Well, I'll let him say that. Great to have you here, Adam.
Thanks, Drummond. Good to see you. Hi, everybody. Adam Larter. I'm the CTO for Affinity. If you've not heard of us before, we are a Singapore-based venture. We work in the decentralized space. We've been around for about 5 years and mostly been focusing on what we like to refer to as turning data ownership on its head. So giving individuals back control of their own data and their own identity. We've been doing that for a few years now, and it's been tough. Humans don't seem to care about privacy as much as we think they should. And then magically the world changed and governments are starting to care and legislate and put in governing frameworks. And then that all intersects with agents. And so what we're finding now is that all of the things that we've built for humans, of course, it doesn't matter if it's a human, whether it's a robot, an agent, or a vacuum cleaner, it will still work. And so we've switched our focus heavily across to agent identity, transitive trust, root of trust, obviously knowledge graphs, just-in-time data acquisition, revocation, all that stuff that we'd already been thinking about and building as part of our tech stack for the humans. So yeah, we're very heavily involved in various areas, including diff, Linux Foundation. We're working with IRA and the First Person Project with Drummond. So lots of things going on. And as part of that as well, trying to keep our investors happy. So yeah, good to meet you all and look forward to kicking off.
Super fantastic. I had the chance to first meet Adam and a couple other Affinity team members in person at the Global Digital Collaborative in Geneva. And they showed me stuff they've been working on that I was not aware of at all, and I was like, wow, that's a big head start in the first person direction and decentralized trust graph. So super happy to have you here and part of this whole effort. And I want to, yeah, that's great. Okay. Next on, I'm actually going to save Hart for last here because he's part of the LF team. So we'll go to the non-LF folks first. Next, Mr. John Phillips.
Thank you very much, Drummond. John Phillips from Suzu, as it says on this, which is says who, as in I make an outrageous claim. You should justifiably ask me, says who says that, John. We are a advisory consulting company based here in Melbourne, Australia. And I've been working with Trust over IP, for example, co-chair of the Governance Architecture Task Force. And I also lead a UNC-FACT project called the Global Trust Registry. I've been working with Drummond and a number of other people on this call for a number of years, and I've been delighted to do so.
And he is a fantastic contributor to all these things. I think everyone on the call is probably aware of the UN Global Trust Registry work, but I think it's yeoman's work, and it's going to be a fantastic contribution to the whole space, and hopefully ties into the kind of decentralized trust graph we're trying to create here. So fantastic. Let's see. Next up, Marcus Sabadello.
Yeah, hello everyone. Marcus Sabadello from Danube Tech. I'm in the EU, so I'm kind of on the wrong call. But I couldn't make the earlier call, and my time schedule is a bit messed up right now due to various travels. Anyway, I've been also in the decentralized identity space for a really long time, and Danube Tech, we're a small company in Vienna, and contributing a lot to W3C working groups, DIF working groups. One of the authors of the DIT standard at W3C, and very motivated to work on DIT-related aspects of decentralized trust graphs and the first-person project. For example, the DIT skid method and these kinds of building blocks is what I'm most interested in.
Fantastic. Some of you may know Marcus and I have been working together on the standards, the leading up to things like this for, I think it's getting close to 20 years now, Marcus. So very super happy to have you. Both of us ended up speaking back to back in at the invitation of Wenjing Chu, who was on this morning's call in Hangzhou, China last weekend? No, weekend before last. Yeah, that was super fun. All right. Next up, Sankarshan.
Well, hello again. My name is Sankarshan. I am dialing in from India. My current focus in trust over IP and related stuff is around trust registries. Sometime in the past, I had co-authored the principles of SSI at the Solving Foundation's work. That's pretty much all about me. Thank you.
He's so modest. He has been working with us for a very long time too. Great to have you here, Sankarshan. And Vikas.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am calling from New Jersey. I have been involved with the Trust over IP Foundation for about 4 years now. Actually got introduced into the decentralized stuff, with my yearning and a sort of a sidestep from a lot of centralized environments where I had been working before. I am the founder of this company called Wapli Technologies, which I pitch as the next generation experiences company, and is making our experiences as we work, play, learn, live to be safe, fair, trusted. I've been involved in some standardization efforts, not only in Linux Foundation, but also in IEEE. I lead a IC program on cybersecurity for next-gen connectivity systems, and have been very much in a learning mode, but also sort of word spreading mode for how the decentralized technologies and the trust building measures around that can actually help us build the right architectures and bring the services to the people, making it better and safer. So that's me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Again, another one fighting the good fight. This is great. And lastly, we'll go to Hart as our the official representative from LFDT here as CTO and all around world champion cryptographer nerd. I'll put it that way. A nerd diplomat among photographers. Hart.
Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for the intro, Drummond. I think, yeah, Brian coined the term nerd diplomats, but I don't know. But yeah, nice to see everyone. Nice to meet folks who I haven't met before. I'm Hart. I work for the Linux Foundation. And if there's anything I can help you all with respect to the Linux Foundation, please let me know.
We're going to get to that because Hart is incredibly modest. He, when we get to the ZKP piece of what we're going to be working on, I'll call on him again. He gave a great summary of that this morning. All right. Again, as you see on the screen here, and I please do stick a little bio info or links or whatever into the bio page because that will persist and new folks that join our effort will be able to see who else is involved. Again, to whatever extent you're comfortable, we are very privacy conscious in this group. Now, again, a couple things we need to go through just to put everyone on the same page at the outset, as this was provided by Daniela and Min, the LFDT admin that's supporting our group. And just reminding everyone, these are all the options for making sure that you're a member of TrustRP, which is a project inside LFDT. So that's actually, but there's two stages of membership. There's membership in LFDT and then a step of joining TrustRP because there's a separate JDF working group agreement that you have to sign. Now there is the option to do that directly, and if you're a contributor, that's what's covered here. There's one, the option for individual participation uses a different agreement. I didn't know this literally until yesterday. And so they're getting a new link together on that. If anyone has any questions about any of that, I will actually copy this. Use this email address. They are the good folks at, it's, I think, generally Min that would handle that, but they'll get it figured out for you. We want to make sure everyone has, use the option that works for them. And as I said, if you're coming from diff, then you're already covered over there. All right. And just to share, our working group is operating on the same terms as all the other working groups at TrustRP, except the Carry Stack working group uses the Open Web Foundation licensing. But these are our standard licensing that we use. So everything's open. And yeah, enough said. I think everyone is pretty familiar with that. Our charter is there's other boilerplate involved on the 2-page charter for any JDF working group, but the relevant thing is the scope statement. This one's a little longer than the normal ones, and what I've highlighted there is as we were working out all the pieces and components that are involved with decentralized trust graphs, we wanted to be explicit that these are all the things that that are in scope in achieving what's in that first paragraph. So we wanted to make sure everyone was going in eyes open. There's a lot of work involved here. We'll get to that with task forces and how we'll organize that. But I just want to say if we are successful in accomplishing this, we can make, as we send the first person white paper, a serious dent in the universe. And I think that's what we're all here to help do. Any questions about anything in this charter? Oh, good. I didn't expect that. All right. I think, this is a smaller group that's more closely tied into this, so we don't have to spend much time on this. I did want to make sure that everyone has, um, all these access to the sort of background reading. I will briefly uh, back out of this to show you pages that have been added here. We'll go here and we'll go to. So this is just, especially for folks who may not be that familiar with our use of Confluence at Trust over IP. You see over here on the left-hand bar, all of our working groups, both past and present, are first level branches, and this is our homepage for this working group. As you can see, it has the scope statement. We're going to talk about leadership and task forces. Anyone who wants to be explicitly a member of the working group, you don't have to add your name here, but if you want to folks to know you're involved with this working group, just add your name. We'll talk about task forces. That's just a list of the proposed ones we'll get to. As we work out what our deliverables will be, then we'll start maintaining a table here so folks can see the status of any of the deliverables. And we'll talk about our meeting schedule and our Discord channel, which is already up and running. And the final part is just participation information. The main thing I wanted to point out is that we have created 5 supporting pages to just communicate and contribute ideas that have been developed over, it's almost 2 years now of work, not just at Trust over IP and DIF, but also LFDT as a whole, Open Wallet Foundation, and across all these projects. And so I'm just, again, probably everyone's very familiar with this, particularly if you've read the first person white paper, but I wanted to point out we have these pages now on personal credentials, along with a strong recommendation for anyone involved with this working group to have read the personhood credentials paper, or at least the 4.5-page summary. I recommend the whole thing. There's a lot of really good information in there, including, John, I'll point out, some really detailed discussion of potential harms, right, and mitigations. It's not a be all end all, but they are, they go very deeply into, okay, what could go wrong? And it's one of the reasons it's a 63-page paper. So then we also have, and that, just for everyone's background, that really helped sort of, we were already on the path of doing first person credentials. Before that paper came out, it really, put a bunch of fuel in the tank to get folks interested in this area. What did come more from the Trust over IP side was this concept of verifiable relationship credentials. And I used illustrations, or contributed illustrations, that we had done for the first person project, showing that there's really 2 parts to that. There is the pairwise private DID exchange that creates the personal private channel, which can be used for many things, not just verifiable credential exchange, but and I think this is actually one of the most powerful features of the decentralized trust graph. Implementations such as the ones Affinity is working on, if you're using DIDCOM or TSP over this channel, all kinds of trust tasks are now possible between the actors in this relationship. So that's just step 1, and then that channel, which is the pink area up here, then sets up the ability now for the agents of wallets to exchange verifiable relationship credentials. And we list the steps there, so you can, I think everyone on this call is familiar with all that. And we do call out that this feature, I always thank Phil Windley at the last IW for saying, if it's just these pairwise DIDs, you're not really proving anything to anyone else, that anyone else can verify your relationship. And so we started to get explicit about the role of personas, which has just grown more and more important. And we'll get to that in a minute. And anyway, that's so in each of these, we note, okay, what was this probably going to result in a deliverable? And of course, we have to discuss and decide on this, but the schemas and trust hash protocols involved with either PHCs or VRCs, feels like right down the middle of the bowling alley for us. And next, of course, once you have those credentials, privacy preserving proofs about them. Once again, we quote from the personal credentials paper because it does such a compelling job of explaining that. And this is where I want to particularly thank Hart for his work. He once it looked like, hey, this could really help the Linux Foundation, Hart leaned in. We're talking a year ago, Hart, you started down this path of helping us. So do you want to say a little bit about what's happened and where it's going on the work on the ZKPs?
Sure, if you want me to.
You bet.
So basically, what's going on is in order to handle sort of the more complicated nature uh, of first-person credentials, we needed a new ZK framework. The basic idea is because we're doing proofs of proofs, right? If you want to do, a proof that includes, VRCs, which are also proofs, you need this essentially recursive proof structure. We need something that doesn't fit with any existing credential schemes, and we need something much more general purpose. So, we've put together a framework for this. We have code that we just started a lab. I can put the links in chat. This is the current code, and it's being moved into an LF Decentralized Trust lab called ZKBK. It's not there yet, but we're in the process of migrating it. You can check that out, play with it. It's Rust cryptography code. And we're working on having, a formal research paper that sort of defines the system out. The goal is for it to be modular. We tried early on doing a lot of custom snark stuff. Ultimately, we decided that the advantages of doing that didn't really outweigh the loss of future proofing if we went with sort of general purpose snarks and frameworks. So that's what we're doing. And hopefully you'll see the research paper on that out in the not too distant future. So yeah, go play with the code and hopefully follow that as it moves along.
Excellent. I'm making a note to add that. We'll save the chat and those links that Hart just put in there. ZKP. I'm reminding myself to the notes page that I will create after this. Of course, the whole meeting's being recorded, but I want to capture this on the notes page that we'll begin maintaining for each of our meetings. I again want to thank Hart. He really took the bull by the horns and in recruiting Dr. Sanjam Garg and his team at Berkeley, who you have said, and I've sort of seen the evidence, are some of the best in the world at the ZKP. And I want to thank them for leaning into this as much as they have. I'm, by the way, Hart, planning on my next visit down to the Bay Area on the week of October 6th, and want to have another meeting. I've told Sanjam I want to go out, visit with him, and mostly discuss funding strategy so we can find every way to get him the resources he and his team needs to continue this work. So happy to coordinate that with you. Are you going to be in town that week? I'm just wondering. The week
I'll
of
be in
October.
town, yeah.
Good. You never know. You're flying all over the world all the time.
It's a very reasonable question.
Yes, it does happen. All right. So again, that's a really key piece of the overall architecture. So super happy to have that moving along. Another key piece that's really grown in importance as we've deepened our, understanding of how this is all going to work is the whole thing of personas, and how did management in what we've introduced a term it's actually come from several places. The idea of the sovereign wallet, the wallet that really, is because it uses self-certifying identifiers and has these kinds of controls over where they're used. It really is very closely associated with the idea of personal sovereignty. But in fact, it's a sovereign wallet for whoever's using it, whether it's a group or a community or a nation state for that matter. It's just this idea that the agent and wallet will automatically handle the provisioning and, when necessary, rotation and management of the relationship DIDs. What you see here is RDIDs, the pairwise private DIDs that are exchanged just for these channels, personal private channels. And users should not have to even think about that any more than we think about IP addresses these days. But the the persona DIDs, that's the real UX challenge, because this is the new tool that individuals will have on the on the internet and in these relationships. In the first person project, we call them first person relationships, but relationships over the decentralized trust graph, where they can have a specific persona and they can prove things in the context of that persona. In the first person white paper, we talk about public personas for things like artists, authors, professors, politicians, whoever needs to have a public persona. But it's we provide the example of the need even there to be pseudonymous in certain cases, like Banksy. And interestingly enough, I'll just note that since we put this out there, we have learned that Banksy is actually interested in this. And I can't say exactly why I actually, is pseudonymous, but it turns out our network has a connection that goes all the way there, and this is a good thing, right? So anyway, I just wanted to point out that I think this is, again, going to become one of the important features and most important privacy features of what we're doing. But it has, for folks like, Adam and Marcus and others building the wallet infrastructure and agent infrastructure for this is really, really important ground zero stuff. And lastly, our cards. The fact that once you have this personal private channel and these verifiable relationships, you can exchange the, long awaited. Since the first person paper came out last week, someone on the list pointed out and said, JS Contacts was just approved at the IETF. I don't have the RFC right in front of me, but you can look it up, JS Contacts. Apparently there's a JCard format and a JSON something format, and so this one is called JS Contacts, and it's proposing to be the next. Anyone who's in front of a browser wants to look it up, you can put the link in the chat. I gave it a quick look over and said, great, it could save us a bunch of time of not having to recreate the sort of default contact style information you might want to include in an R card. In most cases, there's a lot of interest in, and it is part of the JS Contacts, the networks you're part of, and to the extent that agents and wallets displaying our cards can make it one click to connect with someone on whatever network they might be using. It's just going to be, I personally believe this is going to be one of the hallmark features from a user experience standpoint. And one of the reasons that you would create a connection with someone is, and I will, even though they're not here on this call, they were on this morning, the Harvard Applied Social Media Lab team, Brendan Miller and Alberto Leon, have it on their Q4 work list to actually start working with the UX resource at ASML on the ceremony, the actual user experience of creating a connection and exchanging our cards. Because if we get that right, it's pretty clear how the network, decentralized trust graph networks can propagate, and hey, part of what we're after. So that's it in terms of, I just wanted to basically go over, hey, these are all resources that have now been contributed onto the wiki, so we have a sort of common base of information. Please obviously feel free, edit, comment on any of this. If you want to add any other information with your thoughts or suggestions, then that's what the wiki's for. So I'll stop there and say anything about that, or we'll go back to get through the balance of our agenda. All right. Oh, go ahead, John.
Thanks, firstly, John. It's great work, and I'm just, I guess, curious as to how you see the source of truth, sort of all the documents you have. You've got this wonderful sort of wiki pages, which I realize has much the same content as I can see in the white paper as is in the slide deck, which is all makes sense. But where do you want people to sort of comment or work on stuff? Where's the origin?
So there was very simple logic there. A bunch of this work, as you know, got produced in the First Person Project, which is just an independent volunteer effort. And one thing we wanted to do is make sure all of it was clearly contributed to this working group. So it's all, it's all public, open source, open standard contributions. So I would say from the standpoint of this working group, the wiki and we will start setting up the repos as necessary to support our deliverables. Those are the source of truth. And, I guarantee the First Person Project is going to continue producing, documents and folks are already working on, software and implementations of how all this is going to work. And that's one thing we want to see, right? We don't want to be like any other standard, make the mistake of designing something, in the abstract and then seeing if it be implemented. Much better to work the other way around. I've most recently, I think it might have been from someone at Affinity, heard the code first approach to invert everything. Implement it first, then spec it, then standardize it. I'm like, all for it, whatever works. So anyway, does that answer your question, John? Yeah. I do think it's important from the standardization standpoint to say, okay, here's where stuff's going to start. That's why I wanted to make sure as much of this was relevant was contributed over here, and if there are more things we worked on in First Person, we'll make sure that happens here too. All right, back over to.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. For the life of me, I cannot find the raise hand button. I'm used to Teams, not Zoom. So apologies for jumping in. I have a quick question.
Sure.
I've just tried to add myself to the membership list. It doesn't seem I have edit properties, even though I'm signed in. Just wondering, do I need to ping somebody, or I don't have an edit button?
So Adam, just learned that I've never seen that happen before, and yet I've had like 5 requests for edit rights that come into my email, and I'm like, what's going on?
Okay.
My understanding was once you were logged into Confluence, that there's no, every time you publish a page, this current version of Confluence says, do you want this to be open, right? Or do you want to restrict the rights on it? Everything we're doing is open. So I never even do anything but open. So I've never until this morning had that question come up. So I don't know the answer unless, Hart, do you by any chance know why we're getting those edit requests?
I don't know. Generally speaking, we're trying to move away from Confluence and doing wikis in GitHub.
Got it.
Which makes permissioning significantly easier. So yeah, I apologize. I don't know.
So what I would suggest, I mean, I will follow up on it, Adam, but that email I put in earlier, well, actually, there's another one, support@lfdecentralizedtrust.org. Maybe just pop a quick email to that. I think it's probably Min or someone, but anyway, that would be the right one, support@lfdecentralizedtrust.org.
Okay.
And please copy me on that, and let's get an answer. So
no problem.
You can also try the CA list.
Oh, that's a really good point too. That's
That's
right.
probably going to get you a response faster.
Awesome.
I
Thank
take
you.
it back. So use that one because that does go to the architects. And by the way, that's also the group now that because TrustRP is under LFDT can help us with repos as we need them for anything we're doing as this working group. But Hart, as you put in earlier, the repo that's being set up for the ZKP code is an LF Labs repo, right?
It's an LFDT project. I mean, we're doing for
LFDT.
the projects that are likely to go quickly, we're setting them up in their own GitHub orgs. Um, so it's obviously owned by us, but it's an independent GitHub org.
Yep. Okay. That's great. So anyway, Adam, we'll get that answered as soon as we can because everyone's
Thank
going
you.
to need. Yeah, you bet. Okay, since I'm on this screen, I'm just going to go into presenter view here. That's easier. Close that thing. All right, just keeping an eye on time. We have 20 minutes, and I want. All right, so we've covered the background stuff. Now, task forces. One of the things that we've done at TrustRP is not an official JDF, process thing that stops at the working group level, but we brought in something that we started doing at Sovereign Foundation was just saying in working groups, let the work be self-organized into task forces. This list is just a set of proposals we discussed this morning. 4 of them came from discussions at the First Person Project about how would the work potentially best break down. Since our white paper was published last week, the 5th one was proposed here by someone who read the paper and said, what about peer-to-peer PHC issuance? And can you build a strong enough basically solution for folks issuing at the edge in actual first-person relationships to effectively end out with something that could serve as a personal credential. And my reaction was, well, if we can figure that out, that's just going to make it even stronger. So anyway, that person has since, unfortunately, I won't name names because they discovered they can't participate here because of another working group, not at LF. It's a national working group that has restrictions on where else they can participate. So, but they still want to see this task force happen. I know there's other folks that are interested. On this morning's call, Scott Perry suggested that we actually should start out right away with a risk assessment task force. And he's already made a proposal in our Discord channel, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so, which I also think is a good idea. And I told him I would definitely be interested in that one. So these again are just proposals, ideas. The whole idea, we'll talk in a minute about starting to use Discord and Confluence, is to sort of boil it down. And then the idea, again, self-organize really means that. It means who are the members of the working group that go, I really want to work on the credential schemas. I want to work on the trust task protocols. I want to work on the UX challenges, right? Or the peer-to-peer, whatever it is. The idea is it is some subset of working group members say we want to go do that, and that leads us right into great. Then we always need one or more members to say I'm willing to chair that task force. Ideally, more than one, so they're always splitting the load. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean you have to hold meetings every week or 2 weeks or a month or anything else. A lot of task forces have figured out they can operate totally asynchronously or only have an occasional call. So it really just comes down to a way to organize our work that is as efficient as possible and as flexible as possible so that those who want to get the work done together figure out how to do it. We've got all the LF tools at your disposal, right? The discourse we'll talk about in a minute, the Wiki, GitHub repos, and all the GitHub capabilities, discussions and issues, and the GitHub Wiki, if you want to use that for any repo. So all of those things are there. So just think about that. against those. And then, of course, there's a matter of working group chair. As you can imagine, I am definitely willing, and since I'm full-time on the figuring out the first person project since I left Jen in May, I'm willing to be one of the chairs of this group. I would really like to have at least a co-chair. For me, tri-chairs is optional, optimal. We have tri-chairs of the steering committee at Trust RIP, and it really works well because it splits the work in three. So if you're interested enough in this, and it'd be ideal, by the way, hint, hint, to have a chair in the, a co-chair in the APAC call. I will try and make both calls that, work out time zone wise for me. However, I also, as folks know, end out with a lot of travel, so I can't always make all the calls. So that's another reason. So again, feel free to follow up on that. We're almost through it here, and then we can just go quickly. Discord. If you were on the all-member meeting today, we are switching completely off of Slack to Discord. And the channels are already there, and they're active. And if you haven't joined yet, there is anyone who's on that channel now can actually get you an invitation link directly to the channel. Otherwise, you can just go to this address that Min supplied, I'll put in the chat, and get signed up for the Discord server. Everything there is in categories. It serves all of LF. So basically every project is a category, and then the set of channels under that. We have one now for the working group, but any task force can ask for a channel and we can add that. So you'll see other working groups have dedicated channels for task forces. They work really well. Okay, so I didn't update the slide on that one. Very last thing here, meeting schedule. This is just a proposal for how, again, we can operate most efficiently, which is not to, other working groups have separate meetings for, multiple task forces. That's great. That's fine if folks have the time and energy to do that. The proposal here is we establish one weekly meeting for both Americas, for both time zones. And that serves as a stand-up for task force representatives, not necessarily always the chairs, but just so any sort of coordination issues, classic stand-up approach, any coordination issues, any just stand-up style discussion. There might, if the stand-ups are short enough, there might be maybe a discussion topic that crosses those things or something someone wants to highlight, but just one weekly meeting to coordinate the work, and then all the task forces decide how best to manage their own work. And again, we're thinking that's the way we can move forward most efficiently with the least additional meeting workload for folks. I'll stop right there and say, how does that sound? We had a good discussion about this morning, but how does it sound to this group? Adam, if you're saying something, you're on mute.
No, I was just saying dead silence.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Go ahead, John.
I just wanted to show Adam I can find the hand up button. I guess I go back to that observation I was making, Drummond, around we need one place to do our work in, probably. And I think to Hart's comment about everything's moving over to sort of GitHub over time, it's probably good to make some call even in the wiki pages about here's where you go to on GitHub for the actual Foundry work, the live action series or whatever you want to call it, that we're actually sort of making new stuff. Otherwise, we'll get kind of 3 or 4 places being updated, and it's going to be messy and hard.
That's a really good point, and that's why I listed here other working groups as they've moved over and gotten folks comfortable with GitHub. It gives you sort of the full spectrum, because you got discussions. You can start at the discussion level. You can get into issues against very specific documents, and you have the wiki capability. Any repo you can turn on the wiki and use that wiki functionality. which, as you heard from Hart, LF is trying to. I personally like the fact that Confluence also lets you go and especially sort of explore and get into what are other working groups doing. How can I, reference and get down into documents there? But I do agree. I'd be fine for us to establish, hey, each task force, and especially if a task force forms around a deliverable, then you can go and see the whole thing there. You can get the state of the art. You can see what the issues are. You can see what the discussions are, and that, and it will help us coordinate work between task forces. So I'm happy to promote that approach as the source of truth. Yep, that sounds good. Are folks generally in favor of the just establish, at least at the outset, one weekly meeting for the 2 time zones? It came up this morning that because the trust spanning protocol task force is pretty mature at this point, Wenjing is we're considering going to either monthly or all async on that task force. So we might be able to take over that slot, which is the time we had the kickoff meeting this morning, 8 a.m. Pacific for the Americas and EU slot. And then if this slot works for the folks here, it's in your morning for some time zones, then those would be the proposed 2 slots. How would folks on this call feel about that?
This time does suit me when I'm in Melbourne, but similar to probably a lot of you, I'm all over the place. I spend a lot of time in Europe as well. So this works for me, but I would be plugging in whichever time zone works.
You and many of the rest of us, Adam, exactly. That's the nice thing about the 2 meetings, though, also, is that they, you can join either one, or you can be a Sankershan and join both. I don't know how he does it. All right, super cool. I think that's all we had. I would happy to bring up anything, but I do want to highlight that. In fact, if I'm gonna go over on my other screen and find what John had posted. I'm going to put it in the chat. This feedback, John, that you had. Was it on the? Can you explain the background? I'm going to put it in the chat. This.
Sure, John. While you're doing that, so I was rereading the white paper and the materials around first-person credentials and so on, and it struck me that initially I thought of the rather sort of benign kind of idea about dangling hyperlinks, which is this sort of idea about, well, if you break one end of a link, what happens to the other things that's still there? And then I realized actually there's something far more important to think about in this space, which is there a risk that the ideas that are presented in the first-person credentials papers could potentially be used for harm? Could they be an amplifier for coercive, abusive relationships or domestic violence of any form and so on? Now, to Drummond's point earlier, the original academic paper, the XRV paper published by many learned academics, does deep dive into harm's consideration, but the harm it's considering is the harm of people being fooled by deep fakes, by chatbots, by malicious intent of people masquerading as other organizations or as other individuals. And it's that kind of harm that is initially considered in that academic paper, less so the harm that one person in a relationship might commit to another. And that's the unfortunate, statistically more likely vector. So I think we kind of need to start thinking about how the FPC concept might actually be prevented from becoming an amplifier for harm, or actually we put mitigating things in place, whatever. I did, as I think has just been shared by Sankershan, ask AI's opinion on this morning. And I've just added in, just to be sure, Drummond, the link for the XRV original academic paper for it to consider in its analysis. So I can refresh that document, but there's a document that you can have a link to. It concludes with go.
I just put that in there.
Cool. Oh, sorry. Oh yes, you did the XRF document. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. And then what Sankesh done is put it in a Google Doc where I basically asked Gemini's 2.5 Pro deep research assistant to consider the problem. And it's come up with some interesting ideas and recommendations, which are only to be taken with a pinch of salt. It's AI after all. You don't believe what you see from AI. You think about what it said, but it comes up towards the end of the paper. It's not for today's discussion, but it's something I think we'll need to be prepared to answer to in the course of this idea.
Strongly agree. In fact, it convinced me fairly quickly because it also came up on this morning's call. Should we, right from the outset, establish essentially a harms task force, D2G harms task force?
I think to avoid over proliferation of groups, to my thought, is bundle harms and risks together. A harm is a risk, right? There's a risk of harm. Let's not create many people looking at roughly the same thing.
Actually, since I'm gonna save the chat, I'm gonna write that down right now. Excellent. I like that idea.
You can get Nikki to work with Scott. That'd be a good thing.
Yeah. For folks who may not be familiar with the two references, that's Nikki Hickman, based in the UK, who led work with you, John, right, on the harms task force, right? And then Scott Perry, who was the original co-chair of the Governance Stack Working Group and is now a co-chair of the Ecosystem Governance Working Group, and whose business is Digital Governance Institute, and an expert on risk analysis. Yeah, okay, that's really good. Okay, anything else? I did want to a shout out. I just noticed since I went off of sharing that Kevin Triplett has joined us, one of the contributors to the Now Genesis effort. Just wanted to say hi, Kevin. We did introductions earlier on at the outset. If you'd like to do a brief introduction, just so folks know who you are, go for it.
Thanks, Drummond. I've got my video off because I'm in bed. It's kind of late here in Texas, and I met you with the Alelo project where we're doing the trust graph and ID, data sovereignty, digital sovereignty. And so that has led me to digital identities. And so I've taken an interest in how does trust work over the internet and the importance of protocols. I'm looking at other projects. So I've got my toe dipped in this water and I'm following along. And I'm feeling drawn to be joining one of the task forces, but definitely I'll be not lurking, but I'll be with y'all until I can commit fully. But definitely like this first person project because of the meeting people in person and this ritual, this ceremony. I love that aspect.
Cool. Yes. Ironically, the last time I was able to get together with Kevin was in person for like 2 hours over a coffee at the San Francisco SFO airport. But perfect example of a super productive, sit down face to face. So glad you're safely back in Texas now. All right. I know we're just approaching time here. And anything else anyone wants to share today, or are we ready to take to Discord and start discussing, task forces and timing? I want to say we set the expectation we would probably have the first meeting in 2 weeks from now, so we give ourselves time to figure out that time slot and give everyone enough advance notice. And until then, get everyone on Discord and properly signed up. So if that sounds good, we'll look for that. Anything else anyone wants to share today? Fantastic. Again, I welcome you all. There's just between this call and this morning with 32 people, there is just a huge amount of enthusiasm for this. And I know outside of the task force, the efforts such as you're hearing from Affinity and Kevin, Now Genesis, to actually build this and get decentralized trust graph networks going is huge. So I shared this morning, and I'm going to say it again here. This is my capstone project. I left Jen to go see if we can make this work. and I'm going to put in another 2 years of effort to get it to the tipping point, and that is when I will be stepping back from full-time work on this. So that's my particular time clock, and I'm sticking to it. So let's go make it happen. Thank you, everyone, for joining this effort. And with that, all you down under can go enjoy the rest of your day, and the rest of us can get dinner.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good to
Drummond.
meet you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Drummond.
Bye-bye.
Have a good sleep. You bet. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Take care.